Bamboo Horse Heart. Chapter 1, Early Childhood Memory. Shen Chukhuan was born in the wealthy family of the Shen family, and has enjoyed countless favors and protection since he was a child. His family status is illustrious, and he is the envy of the whole city. However, Shen Chukhuan's world has never only revolved around money and power, but there is also an inseparable existence with him, and that is her Gu Zhanming. Gu Zhanming is 2 years younger than Shen Chukhuan and is the daughter of the Gu family. She has lived in the same compound with Shen Chukhuan since she was a child, and her clear eyes and her simple smile can make people feel an indescribable warmth at any time. Shen Chukhuan's desire to protect was rooted in her heart from the moment she was born. Whether it's her first time learning to walk or meeting a mischievous companion, he always shows up silently to shelter her from the elements. At that time, the young Gu Zhanming still didn't understand why every time a boy laughed at her, she would always see Shen Chukhuan's figure flashing by, with a strong warning and undoubted coldness in her eyes. Whenever she felt that invisible protection, she would always smile sweetly, and then stretched out her little hand and gently put it on Shen Chukhuan's arm. "Are you my brother?" Gu Zhanming had innocently asked Shen Chukhuan. Shen Chukhuan gently stroked her head and responded in a low voice, "I am your eternal guardian, not my brother, nor someone else." The firmness in his tone made Gu Zhanming only feel full of dependence and warmth in his heart. Chapter 2, The Embrace of Youth. Time flew by like flowing water, and the relationship between Shen Chukhuan and Gu Zhanming gradually became delicate unconsciously. Shen Chukhuan has always been her refuge, and even when Gu Zhanming began to develop in adolescence and began to be curious about the opposite sex, this relationship did not change. He is still the calm, omnipotent big brother beside her. But as she grew older, Gu Zhanming began to find that Shen Chukhuan's eyes on her were a little different. This change began to manifest itself when she was 15 years old. It was a dance party in the courtyard. Shen Chukhuan was wearing a black suit, the whole person looked magnificent, surrounded by many noble children, and everyone was envious of his excellence. He searched for her in the crowd. The moment his eyes met with Gu Zhanming, a trace of deep emotion flashed in his eyes, but Gu Zhanming didn't notice the strangeness at that moment. She wore a dark blue dress, her hair was simply tied in a high bun, and she looked particularly bright and moving in the crowd. Shen Chukhuan's gaze locked on her, and he seemed to be unable to take it off anymore. "Zhanming, this is the first time you have worn such beautiful clothes, it is really an eye-opener for me." Shen Chukhuan's tone was still flat, but he couldn't hide the fluctuations in his heart. Gu Zhanming smiled, but she didn't realize the hidden emotion in his tone. She only felt that he seemed to care more and more about her, and it seemed to be different from before. After the ball, Shen Chukhuan did not silently escort her back to the room as usual, but took her hand and asked softly, "Zhanming, do you know, I have been thinking about one thing all these years." Gu Zhanming looked at him, her eyebrows raised slightly. "What's the matter?" Shen Chukhuan lowered his head slightly, and his voice was low. "I never thought that one day, I would start to care about you, far more than myself." Gu Zhanming was stunned, her face changed slightly. Her heartbeat suddenly accelerated, and she couldn't help but feel an inexplicable sense of panic in her heart. Chapter 3, The Clash of Hearts. As time passed, Shen Chukhuan's strange behavior became more and more, and Gu Zhanming gradually sensed that something was wrong. Sometimes, he would appear next to her when she was not expecting it, and look at her with that almost possessive gaze. And every time she was a little confused, his eyes became deeper and calmer. Once, Gu Zhanming talked with a teenager who came back from abroad. The young man was extraordinarily handsome, a gentleman in speech and demeanor, and the conversation with Gu Zhanming was very compatible. Shen Chukhuan stood not far away, his brows furrowed, his whole person was as hard as a piece of steel, and his eyes flashed with indescribable emotion. When Gu Zhanming noticed Shen Chukhuan's eyes, she was suddenly shocked and began to understand something. Her heart began to beat faster, and the uneasiness crept up. "Why do you think of me like that?" Gu Zhanming asked with a smile, but there was a hint of indescribable panic in her tone. Shen Chukhuan didn't answer, but said coldly, "You know that you are mine, and no one is allowed to approach you again." This sentence was like a lightning bolt that struck her heart. Gu Zhanming's heart trembled, and she understood that behind this sentence was Shen Chukhuan's affection and possessiveness. She was stunned, as if she was shocked by this sudden emotion, and she couldn't react at all. Chapter 4, The Border Between the Two. Time passed quickly, and Shen Chukhuan finally expressed his intentions. He is no longer the indifferent bamboo horse he once was, and he is no longer the brother who shelters her from the wind and rain. Shen Chuchuan's confession is not direct, but it hides countless emotions. One day, Gu Zhanming and Shen Chukhuan were walking home together. Shen Chukhuan suddenly stopped and looked back at her, with a firmness and depth in his eyes that he had never seen before. Zhanming, you have been my baby all these years, no matter what the situation, I will not let go. He whispered, with an irresistible hint of authority in his tone. Gu Zhanming's heart was beating faster, and he could only hear the sound of his own breathing in his ears. She knows that this is not just the affection between brother and sister, this has crossed the boundary and become an inescapable fact in the hearts of two people. She bowed her head slightly and said softly, "Are you telling the truth?" Shen Chukhuan smiled lightly, approached her, and said in a low voice, "If you don't agree, then I have to continue to pursue you until you are willing to be mine." Gu Zhanming's heart trembled slightly, and finally, she raised her head, met Shen Chuchuan's deep gaze, and said softly, "I won't let you go again." Chapter 5, The Trial of Love. Although Shen Chukhuan and Gu Zhanming have broken through the boundaries of the past and become the only ones in each other's hearts, the love between them is not all smooth sailing. Shen Chuchuan's identity made it impossible for him to completely ignore the pressure from his family and the outside world. As the sole heir of the Shen family, his every choice was watched, and his relationship with Gu Zhanming naturally became the focus of everyone's discussion. Gu Zhanming understood this, but she was not willing to give up the sincere relationship between her and Shen Chukhuan. She knows very well that Shen Chukhuan has always had a huge struggle in his heart, and he not only has to face the expectations of his family, but also all kinds of pressures from society and tradition. However, these obstacles did not weaken her love for him, but only made her stronger. One day, Shen Chukhuan took Gu Zhanming to a quiet garden. He held her hand tightly and whispered, "Zhanming, my family has arranged many future choices for me, including marriage. They want me to marry a good woman, and you. You don't live up to their expectations." Gu Zhanming's heart was shocked after hearing this. She looked at Shen Chukhuan with a trace of confusion and uneasiness in her eyes. "Then you? How do you choose?" Shen Chuchuan's eyes darkened slightly, he took a deep breath, and then looked down at Gu Zhanming's eyes. His tone was gentle but full of firmness. "No matter how the family persecutes me, my heart is only you. I am willing to work with you to face all difficulties and move towards the future." A warm current surged in Gu Zhanming's heart, and her eyes became more determined. "Shen Chukhuan, I will face it with you, no matter how many difficulties there are in the future. As long as you don't let go of me, I will never let you go." Shen Chukhuan gently hugged her into his arms, and the heaviness in his heart seemed to be released in an instant. He knew that no matter what the outside world was, he would go on with Gu Zhanming, fearless of all the challenges ahead. Chapter 6, Family Pressure. Shen Chukhuan decided to face the future hand in hand with Gu Zhanming, but this decision was not so easy. His family did not allow his relationship with Gu Zhanming to be too public, especially since Gu Zhanming was not a prominent aristocratic family, and for the Shen family, she did not meet their ideal marriage partners. Shen Chuchuan's father, Shen Zhanji, is a very authoritative elder. He is very concerned about his son's choice, and he also has a clear plan for Shen Chuchuan's future. He knew that Shen Chukhuan loved Gu Zhanming, but he insisted that the relationship could not be made public, and even made stronger demands. One day, Shen Zhanji found Shen Chukhuan, and his tone was calm but with a hint of warning. "Chukhuan, you know the family's expectations. I have no objection to you loving someone, but if this person can't bring fame and benefits to the Shen family, then we can only let it go. Gu Zhanming is not a marriage partner that we can accept." Shen Chukhuan clenched his fists, and a wave of anger welled up in his heart. He had always respected his father, but at this moment, he felt that his choice was insulted. Gu Zhanming's identity and her past do not match the Shen family, but none of these can change Shen Chuchuan's love for her. "Father, the person I chose is Zhanming. She is the only person in my heart." Shen Chuchuan's voice was low, but extremely firm. Shen Zhanji was silent for a moment, and then said in a cold tone, "If you insist on this, then the support of the family will no longer be your guarantee. The Shen family would not allow such a situation." Shen Chukhuan was well aware of the strength and pressure of the family, but at this moment, his determination did not waver. He knew in his heart that if he gave up Zhanming, it would be a lifelong regret. Chapter 7, The Choice of Fate. In the confrontation between Shen Chukhuan and his family, Gu Zhanming has been standing silently behind him, supporting his every choice. She knew that she might not be able to change the world's evaluation of her, but she could choose to face the future with Shen Chukhuan, whether it was good times or bad. One day, Shen Chukhuan came to Gu Zanming's house, and there was a trace of exhaustion and struggle in his eyes. Zhanming, the pressure on the family is getting bigger and bigger, I don't know what we should do. Gu Zhanming looked at him quietly, and then said softly, Shen Chukhuan, I know that you are responsible, your family has high expectations for you, but you have your own choice. I will be with you no matter what. Shen Chukhuan hugged her gently, and said in a low tone, Zhanming, you are my only choice, no matter what happens, I will not give up on you. Gu Zanming's eyes were filled with tears, and after all these years of perseverance and hard work, he finally found the answer at this moment. No matter how difficult the future may be, as long as they can support each other, then everything else doesn't matter. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 8, Eternal Promise. In the end, Shen Chukhuan expressed his determination to the family, and he chose Gu Zhanming regardless of the family's opposition. This decision was not made overnight, but after countless inner struggles and considerations, but when he included Gu Zhanming in his life, he knew that what he had done was the most correct choice. Although the pressure of the family has not completely disappeared, Shen Chukhuan and Gu Zhanming walk side by side to face the future together. Their love has never been so firm and sincere. Finally, on a sunny morning, Shen Chukhuan knelt on one knee, holding Gu Zanming's hand, his eyes affectionate and firm. Zhanming, no matter what the future holds, I will protect you and love you. Please marry me and be my only wife. Gu Zanming's eyes were filled with tears, and her heart was full of happiness and emotion. She nodded and replied softly, I am willing, and I will never leave. The promise between the two finally turned into an eternal vow at that moment.